It's time to reveal my hottest of hot takes. Genuinely, I think I'm the only person in the world who's noticed this, but this freaking frog is responsible for every single thing that went wrong in the Star Wars galaxy. A whole entire Darth Jar Jar theory stemmed from just one scene of Jar Jar helping Palpatine get emergency powers as Chancellor, but Yoda's negligence and idiocy is basically the cause of the entire Clone Wars and the fall of the Jedi, and we're just gonna let him get away with it? If you don't believe me, just wait. I'm gonna go through every single Star Wars project, except the sequels because I don't gaff about them, and discuss how Yoda is actually at fault for all of the war in Star Wars. We're gonna go about this in release order because I think my brain would explode if I try to do this chronologically, and also because I want to show you how this has been a part of his character from the beginning. And sure, it got worse as the years went on, but it wasn't like Yoda was only a bitch under Dave Filoni's projects. That foundation was straight from the George Lucas era. So Yoda first showed up in Empire Strikes Back, and it's fun because Luke is looking for a wise old master but runs into this weirdo frog thing in the swamp, and it turns out that the weirdo frog thing is actually the wise old master. And at this point, we have no reason to believe he's not that. He has a very iconic line in this film.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Let's come back to that later. Later, Luke wants to put his training on pause to save his friends Han and Leia from Darth Vader, and Yoda, who has not learned a single thing from his previous mistakes, tells him not to. Luke doesn't listen, thank God, and goes to save his friends. And may I just say, Yoda, what are we doing? Who freaking cares if he needs a week-long break from his training to save his friends? Basically, Yoda is just upset because Jedi aren't supposed to have attachments, but this whole expectation that humans are not to care for anyone is literally what got you into this mess in the first place. And I'm going to talk about it. Luke semi-succeeds saving Leia and Lando, who are then able to help him save Han in the next movie, and even learns that Vader is his father in the process. And that's another thing. Not telling Luke the truth about his father is crazy, but I get that the writers were kind of forced in this direction so that they could have the most iconic reveal of all time. So I can forgive Yoda for not telling Luke that Vader is his father, but then he's also gonna go and not tell him Leia is his sister. I don't have to explain why that's a huge problem now, do I? Dear Lord. Literally, what is even the reason to keep this from Luke? Regardless, Yoda then dies to avoid having to explain himself to Luke. This bitch. And that brings us to the prequels, where Yoda's decisions go from negligent to straight up malignant. So first of all, when Qui-Gon Jinn approaches Yoda with the information that the Sith, who have been extinct for over 1,000 years, are back, what do you think Yoda does? Was your answer nothing? Because he does freaking nothing. He knows there's another Sith out there. He knows always two there are. But oh freaking well, I'm sure this will just work itself out. No further investigation. This will become a theme. And then he gives Obi-Wan Anakin as a Padawan, even though Obi-Wan does not want a Padawan and probably will not be the best teacher at this point in his life. Sure, Obi-Wan told Qui-Gon that he would train the boy, but Qui-Gon's dead, so he wouldn't mind if Yoda assigned Anakin, the most powerful and important Jedi in history, to an actually qualified teacher who actually wanted a Padawan. But I'm sure no consequences will come from that. Still, we are at the point where I could forgive Yoda for all these mishaps, but just you wait. The next movie starts, and we casually learn that Yoda had an apprentice of his own, and oopsie daisy, he turned out to be a Sith Lord that started the Separatist movement, which then started the Clone Wars. Isn't Yoda supposed to be the best teacher of all of the Jedi? How did he mess up this badly? In Tales of the Jedi, we see Dooku was already a bit unorthodox with his tactics, and then he was passed up for a promotion to the Council in favor of Windu, which I can only assume was a decision partly made by Yoda. And this, plus Palpatine's manipulation, led him to becoming a Sith. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, there's no way this will happen a second time, right? But first, let's talk about Obi-Wan coming to Yoda with the information that a clone army was secretly created for the Jedi to use under very suspicious circumstances. And then all of a sudden, a perfect chance for the Jedi to utilize the clones appears, and what does Yoda do? He says, well, we got all these clones. What good are they just sitting around? Let's start a war. With no regard for consequences, he's
Train all your fire on the nearest starship.
within seconds. He's having a grand old time. He's already come up with a name for the war. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he's excited to be fighting in a war. And for the next 3 years of the Clone Wars, he simply does not investigate further into the creation of the clones. If it were me on the council and 200,000 identical men appeared out of nowhere saying, we're ready to fight for you,